Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome to a brand new series of chat this week, all about money. And I don't know about you, I don't know how your tax works, but it's the end of the financial year, and that's how my kind of tax seems to go. And last year I paid the biggest tax bill of my life. And I wasn't expecting to do that in a pandemic, and it felt really scary when I paid my tax, but it felt really good as well. And it felt like a new chapter. And I think my relationship with tax it's not been a negative one, but it's always been laced with the tax man. Or, you know, those awful HMRC end of the tax years, like self-assessment reminder. And it's brought quite a lot of fear. And even like typing in what that unique tax reference number in and getting the right password. Ooh la la, sometimes even that process can be quite something. But over the last few years, like I've really started to build a nicer relationship with tax. Like, no, it's fine. It's just what you do. Doesn't have to be emotional. It doesn't have to be stressful. It can be organized. And yeah, that's my own personal journey. How do you feel about it? I would love to know. As always, you can email me hello@nikkiraby.com. Of course, it will be confidential, but I would love to hear. Today, I want to talk about this sense of time versus money. I also want to say that I'm not going to be talking about costs or anything else increasing like everybody wants to talk about on the news or social media. Not because I'm not aware of it's going on, because I absolutely am, but you can get all of that scary news, as people like to see it and say it, elsewhere. And I want you to come here knowing that you're in safe hands, knowing that I'm going to give you things to do and to implement and think about. And I know that when I'm in that, oh my goodness, this feels really scary, or prices are increasing, etc., that doesn't make me feel creative. That doesn't make me do my best work. That doesn't make me feel purposeful. So I want you to know that, of course, I am aware of all of those things, but I'm not going to be mentioning them too much here. So let's talk about time versus money. So when I moved to London in 2000, I trained as an actor, and I worked throughout my training until 2003. And I always had a Saturday job. I always did teaching. I always worked every holiday when I went home, in bars and theatres. Oh my goodness, I did so many different things. And it was never a sense of like, oh, now you're home for the holidays, kick back and relax. It was very much like, okay, let's go. What are you going to earn your money, and you're going to get yourself ready for the next term? And so I've always had that really strong work ethic. Now, of course, I was 18, 19, 20, 21 at the time, and I was a student essentially. And so what I could charge was very much, and this is all before the internet. So, you know, I wasn't an influencer, or I wasn't using social media, or I wasn't earning money sitting on my sofa. Everything that I earned had to be in person. Everything I did relied on me being there and giving and delivering and doing what I said that I would do. And I continued that model for many, many years. And I always was very entrepreneurial because I knew that my acting was to take priority. I knew that I had a set of guidelines, essentially, of what I needed from the job. So in order to support my acting, I needed to make sure that it was flexible. I needed to make sure that it was going to be consistent and reliable, because I was living in London and all the costs that go with that. But also, I needed it to support my career. So I needed new headshots. I needed to pay for things and be able to get to auditions. I needed to be flexible at the last minute. Should I get a job or an audition or a recall? And I felt for most of my 20s and into my early 30s that I was constantly feeling pressured and constantly undercharging, essentially, because I hadn't found a way or the confidence to be able to charge what I actually thought that I was worth. And because I needed that flexibility, what I did was I really pulled back, because in terms of currency, flexibility was number one for me. It wasn't even about the money. Like, I needed the money, but I just think, well, I'll just work more. I'll just do that. And it's only as I've got into my 30s and then 40s that I've really assessed how I work. Also, when I was in that model of traditionally earning when I worked, if I wasn't working or if I needed to be flexible, I wouldn't have any money coming in. I had no way of being able to do that. And so actually having my first child at 33, I realized that paying for a nanny or paying for childcare or a nursery, especially in those first kind of 12 weeks, those first 6 months, weren't really an option for us, not only financially, but I needed to find a way that I was going to be able to continue making my work for me. And then what started to happen was I started to get speaking gigs. I started to be invited to do workshops and host things or do VIP days with people. And that was a really interesting process in terms of earning money, because if I told somebody, or even the old me 10 years ago, what I then charged per hour, that person would be in absolute shock. Like, what? You're paying? Wow. Oh my goodness, that's a huge leap. And you know what? It really was. But here's what I want to say. Well, there's lots of things that I want to say. To some companies or to some people, that money is just there. That money needs to be spent, because what they need or what they want is the solution. And they understand the importance of getting that solution. And if that means paying somebody more, so they turn up on time, they say what they're going to do, and they make everything go smoothly, then so be it. That company is not scrimping and saving and thinking, oh gosh, let's just go for the cheapest person. Let's just get that person, because if that person is cheap, like, there's too much at stake. What if that person doesn't show? What if they don't do a great job? There's so much more to think about. And so as I went through this process, I really had to make some choices, and it was very much a trial and error of charging too much, charging too little, giving too much away, not giving enough, or all sorts of things going on there. And it will always be a work in progress for me, because different companies have different expectations. I would like to think that I'm more experienced and more skilled at what I do year on year. And it's a really interesting dance. And it's interesting also to really assess what you do within that hour. So you could look at an hourly rate, for example, of something that I get paid for speaking, and compared to another industry, that could be completely bonkers. Like, what? How is she getting paid for that within that hour? But the first thing I want to say is it's never just 1 hour, really. Even if, like, it's very smooth and you've done this thing and you turn up and you deliver and you show up, there's always more to it. There's emails, there's back and forth, there's contracts to be signed. There's can we just jump on a call because I just want to run something by you? There's another 20 minutes that go. There's your travel there and back. There's a few people after your talk saying, can I have a chat with you? There's you doing something else. There's emails to follow up on. Maybe you then have to chase the invoice, etc., etc. So something that you've negotiated for 1 hour of work, it may be a lot more of that. So I just want today to invite you to pay attention. I want you to notice this week what you are earning whilst you are working. And this is a really, really interesting and sometimes illuminating and slightly gut-wrenching exercise, but it's a very, very important one. So as I'm talking about money this week, I'm going to be inviting you to be bold. I'm going to be inviting you to look at things in a different way, and sometimes in a way that you don't want to, but that is how you are going to get big, big growth. So this week, I want you to pay attention to how you're working. And I want you to start to look at your time and look at what you are spending time on. Because let me be honest with you, there have been times as a coach, as somebody who wasn't doing loads of things, where I have worked, and I'm saying worked as in like I sat at my desk for an entire week and I didn't earn anything. Like, it would have made more sense to go and get another job. Now, you could argue all of that work that I put in on a week did come back to me, later on in the month. But I tell you what, when you do this exercise and you get to Friday, it's fairly soul destroying if no money has hit your bank account. And you don't want that to be a regular occurrence. So I want you to pay attention. How are you doing the time versus money? I want you to think about it. I want you to make a note of it, and I would love you to report back. And if you need some help with this pricing menu, please do get in touch, because that's a perfect opportunity for a pick and mix session. You can find out more, nikkiraby.com/sessions. I would love, love, love to hear what you say on this. And also you can go to my freebie section too. There's loads of great information in there as well. I'm sending lots of love. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I'll see you tomorrow as promised. Bye.